It is Friday, September 15th, 2023. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose. Producer Dan along for the ride as well. I am wearing a Pirates hat, not because Garrett Cole returns to the Steel City to face the team that drafted him number one overall, but rather because we are celebrating the 22nd anniversary of Roberto Clemente Day around Major League Baseball. It is a wonderful award that they give out. It is one that I know several people that have won it, and there is no higher honor in this sport, and that includes MVP, Cy Young, everything else. People, they are truly touched when they are the recipients of the Roberto Clemente Award.
People have heard me say this on this show before, but Roberto Clemente has always been a favorite of mine, and this was before I knew anything about this award or any of his philanthropic work. It was based on his play. My dad always says the best baseball player he's ever seen. So I always love Roberto Clemente because my dad he didn't really ever say that about anybody except for him.
Look at some of the guys, by the way. I'm just bringing up the Roberto Clemente recipients. Over the last year, Justin Turner won it. But if you look at some of the guys who won it, not only just good dudes, but like great, great players. There's a handful of either Hall of Famers or future Hall of Famers on this list. Kershaw won it in 2012, Poppy the year before that, Jeter in 2009, Pujols in 2008, Craig Biggio won it, John Smoltz won it, Jim Thome won it. Those are all Hall of Famers just in the last 20 years to be named recipient of the award.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really, you are right about it. It's one of the most prestigious awards you can get in the big leagues.
All right. Speaking of awards, this is kind of an interesting. I didn't think we'd be talking about this, but here we are. The Texas Rangers have won 6 in a row after I cast them aside a week ago. But Trevor Plouffe said, "Don't you dare. Don't you dare," because their offense can go on a run, and he ain't lying. They've won 6 in a row, including a 4-game sweep up in Toronto, and you know who was back at it again in the first inning Thursday.
And has extended a hitting streak now to 4 games. He hits this ball hard, deep out to right field. Biggio's back. He hit that a kilometer out there. Solo shot for Seager. And the Rangers jump out front 1-0 in the first.
Okay, is there any shot whatsoever that Corey Seager bypasses Shohei and wins the AL MVP?
No, there isn't. I know he's been going off and he leads the league in a lot of really important statistics right now, but nobody's catching Shohei. I believe right now he's like minus 10,000 to win the award or something like that. And Seager, for all he's done, like he's also missed a bunch of time this year. Now, if he was fully healthy throughout the season, maybe he'd be a little bit closer. But let's not have our brains forget about who Shohei Ohtani is. I know the season ended abruptly. It hasn't been great for him over the last month, but this is Shohei Ohtani we're talking about. The most talented baseball player that's ever lived, ever. Okay. So no, I don't think anybody surpasses Shohei. I'm happy we were shouting out Seager. He's had a great year so far. He's one dot in it. He's got the counting stats, even though he doesn't have the games played. Like his rate stats are nuts, but he ain't catching Shohei. There's no chance, man.
Can I at least make this argument? If the Rangers come back and win the West when we all thought they were dead after they have
not
lost.
All of us.
Okay, when I did. I'll raise my hand on that. I screwed that up.
Thank you.
That's fine. That's fine. I love being wrong for a situation like this. But if they come back and win the West when some morons thought that they were dead, and he is the biggest reason why, even if he only plays 120 games this year, you don't think that some voters will be swayed in that direction?
As to giving him MVP 1 votes?
Yes.
I don't. I mean, maybe someone from Dallas, like sometimes there's always something like that.
Right.
Maybe someone, wanting to make a point. But I mean, even if he gets 1 AL MVP, 1 vote, that doesn't mean anything. Okay. Shohei's going to win the award.
Just some numbers out there. Seager, 2 more extra base hits last night. He's got 71 on the season in 103 games. For some perspective, that ties a career high. He also did it in 2016 when he won Rookie of the Year and finished 3rd in the NL MVP voting. He played 57 games that year to get 71 extra base hits. A little more perspective. Shohei's got 78 extra base hits, but in 33 more games. Acuna, 1 more extra base hit in 42 more games. Mookie Betts, 6 more extra base hits, but in about 35 more games. So Corey Seager has done it, dude. He has been lethal when he's been in the lineup.
Don't make me say this. I don't want to put this line on you, but does he also pitch?
No. Okay. Not that I've seen.
That's it, man. I know it sounds it's mundane and everyone's sick of it, but we can't get Shohei fatigue. Like, he's doing this. He's on par. You're talking about, is this guy going to win the MVP? Look what he's done statistically. Shohei's on par with this dude, but he's also an ace. There's nothing out there.
I just wanted to see if there was. I agree that Shohei will win the MVP and should win the MVP. I do believe that Seager has done enough to make people write things down and put numbers on a piece of paper and look at them and think about it. Do you think that that's happened? Do you think that people have started to think? No.
Here's the number. Shohei has 44 homers to his 31. He's got more at bats than him, but like not that many. 80 more at bats than him.
Right. He's walked a lot.
One dotting, on base percentage is higher. Like everything. I mean, he's on par or better than Corey Seager in all of these stats, man. I can't.
And he doesn't pitch. Okay. All right. I just wanted to see where your head went.
Shohei had 20 swipes. Ohtani had 20 swipes.
I just wanted to see where your head was. I'm not trying to say, because I agree with you. I just wanted to see where your head was.
Okay.
So now let's talk about this. Tampa takes the first of 4 in Baltimore to close the gap to just 1 in the American League East. It's a big deal because the winner of the division is going to be the 1 seed and get the bye. The loser's still going to host a first-round playoff series, but you got to play the extra series. You're going to be the 4 seed, and if you win that, you're going to be on the road in round 2 to start out with. But this question is, which team do you trust more for a deep October run, the Rays or the O's?
I feel like people are going to talk about a little bit of recency bias here. But I think I trust the Rays more than the O's in the postseason. And I don't have great reasons for it, to be honest with you. I don't. I think both these teams are excellent teams. Clearly the 1 and 2 in record in the American League, so they're both very good teams. I think with Felix Bautista not being out, that was a main part of why the Orioles are where they're at, is because of what he can do at the back end of the game. They don't have they're saying maybe he might be back for some postseason stuff. Might change my mind. But I think the Rays do everything just a little bit better than the Orioles do. I think that their offense is a little bit more consistent. I think they have guys up and down the lineup. I'm not saying that Orioles offense is bad. It's not. And they have a bunch of guys that can pop you. But I think overall consistency in their lineup, I'm going to give to the Rays. Overall consistency in the starting pitching staff, even though they've taken some lumps, I think it's still the Rays. Overall bullpen right now, with the way they're constructed, what the Rays have been doing lately, I believe they're like on a 30-inning heater with no runs given up or something like that. You got to go with the Rays. So as we sit right now, I'm more confident in them than I am the Orioles. Although, again, I'll say that I think the Orioles are a great team. You're giving me the option here. And we're going to see, this weekend, 1 game down in the 4-game set, Rays took it to them. Good job, Luke Raley right there. Mm-hmm. I'm choosing the Rays.
I, too, am choosing the Rays for a bevy of reasons. So you talked about the bullpen. It's actually 34 consecutive innings without giving up an earned run. Pretty good. And you know what they do better than anybody? They find at least one bullpen piece a year that is just hovering in some other organization. You might not even know that person's name. And this year it's Robert Stevenson, right? Yeah. They plucked him. What was it? Early June, maybe, from Pittsburgh.
June.
And
yep.
he was just a guy who had an ERA, I think, over 5 or something. He has become an enormous high leverage situation, dude, on that team. I don't know how they find him. 20 years down the road, somebody should spill the beans on what they see in other teams' relievers that not even those teams find. So I'm just curious about that whole thing. 2 other things. I like the top of the Tampa rotation better than I like Baltimore's. And I love the experience factor. if you just look at last night's starting lineups, the two teams, and Baltimore's offense has been awesome this year. They have two guys that have significant playoff at-bats, if any. Aaron Hicks has 97. Adam Frazier's got 23. If you look at just the top three in the Rays order, Yandy has 77. Brandon Lau has 113. Randy Arozarena has 105 to go with his 11 playoff homers. That's just the top three. Forget about the rest of the dudes who've seen action in the postseason. I'm a big believer in that. I know it's not the end-all, be-all because there are young teams that make a run without playoff experience. But if you're asking me why, that's the direction I'm going.
6 of the 28 players on the roster for the Rays right now are drafted or amateur signed. Everybody else is maybe a free agent sign. Only a few are, like Eflin is that. Most of them are trades.
I mean,
don't trade with the Rays.
No, you're going to lose. You are losing. It's like sitting down at a blackjack table. It's just not happening for you. You know,
Yandy Diaz traded from your Cleveland Guardians. He's turned into a beast. Randy Arozarena traded from your Cardinals. He's a beast. Isaac Paredes, go look at his stats right now. I just did some on Baseball Today about him. Traded from Detroit. Harold Ramirez from the Cubs. Luke Raley from the Dodgers. I mean, it's crazy.
It is crazy. And those are all guys who it feels like any team could have had. Yeah. Any team.
Those are like big-name blockbuster trades.
There's not one guy, when you mention that list, where you're like, oh, my God, I can't believe that other team had him. Because they were just kind of wallowing in mediocrity. They just weren't doing much, or they weren't getting an opportunity, or they just whatever. But that's not one of those names is a name where you went, God, I can't believe a team gave up on him.
Their rotation, obviously Tyler Glasnow, Zach Littell, who's been great for them.
Hey, don't forget Glasnow was traded there.
That's what I said. We know about the Glasnow trade, yes.
Right.
I'm saying Littell. Waivers from Boston in May. Savale, we know about the trade. I mean, it's Fairbanks, who's been nasty, traded from Texas. You just go up and down the line. It's crazy. Listen, don't trade with Texas. Just don't do it.
With Tampa,
they'll mess with Texas. Except if you're the Twins, you got Joe Ryan.
That's good. That's true. You did get him. That was good. Hey, today's episode of Baseball Today is sponsored by our friends over at SeatGeek. You say, I have no idea what SeatGeek is. They are the #1 ticketing app, making buying tickets super simple. More than 28 million downloads. That's what has made them the best around. So easy instructions. Grab this. It's your phone. Go to the App Store. Download the SeatGeek app. Off you go. Why do you need it? Because there's more than 70,000 events every single day on SeatGeek. What does that include? Sports. We are in full swing. 2.5 weeks of the baseball season, and then we get to the playoffs. NFL, college football, college basketball is not too far away. Hockey, NBA, soccer, it's all there. They also have concerts, festivals, oh so much more. And here's the cool thing. SeatGeek always wants to make sure you're getting the best deal possible. Anybody can see, hey, this is an expensive ticket. It must be, I'm getting primo access here. No. SeatGeek has a green dot and a red dot. The green dot means it's not the most expensive seat. It means it's the best deal, best seat for the one that money can buy. Red, that means, slow your roll, partner. We don't think that you're getting the best deal possible. So they're looking out for you. On top of that, every ticket is backed by our buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek's the only site that lets you return tickets ahead of time of the event with swaps for future dates. And we got the hookup. You use the code word today for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. That is $20 off your first purchase. Promo code today. Click the link in the description to download the app. We'll see you at a game or a concert in the near future. Oh, Plouffe, this one's for you. Don't be a homer. Give me a good, reasoned explanation for this. MLB.com gave us 5 reasons why the Minnesota Twins are a serious World Series threat. Are they?
Do you want to go over the 5 reasons they gave, or do you want me just to answer the question if they're a legitimate World
I want
Series
you
threat?
to answer. Let's not be parrots. We don't have to take everything that they said, but do you believe that there is serious World Series threat?
Yes.
Okay.
For a couple different reasons. Okay. And honestly, they're not great reasons, but I do think there's a chance. Now, I'll even put a percentage on it because I think that's fair. I think, yes, they're a legitimate World Series threat, but I'll put the percentages like at 25%.
That's a good percentage.
Pretty good, right?
Yes, very good. High.
Here are my reasons. I think when you break it all down, they have what it takes to win playoff series right now. They have good starting pitching and good starting pitching depth. They have that. Enough so they're going to have to kick a few guys to the bullpen. Now go to the bullpen. I mean, we're talking about a very, very good, top 3 in their rotation. And you can go 4 or 5 deep with them. I think their starting pitching obviously has been a strong point for them, especially in the first half. But Pablo Lopez has really come on in the second half. Sonny Gray is continuing to do it. So this article mentions them as a 1-2 punch. I think that's accurate. The bullpen, for all its, faults that it might have, I think once you get into the playoffs, we talk about this all the time, you can really pare it down. The back end of their bullpen has guys that have stuff and that can get the job done. Talking about Duran, we're talking about Jack, we're talking about even guys like Theobar. Hopefully Brock Stewart is on the mend. I think he could play a big part of it. Louis Varland I mentioned him on this show before. He's a starter for them. They put him in the bullpen now. He's still like 100 miles an hour. Like he's had a few good instances out of the pen. I think one bad one. But he's a guy who I can really see almost like the way like Eovaldi did for the Red Sox and like a Pivetta did for the Red Sox, like something like that role, like a piggyback start or like give me 3 or 4 strong innings out of the pen. So they have that guy. Plus the back end is legit. Duran is going to be very good. And the other reason is I think their offense can do it. They lead the big leagues in homers since the All-Star break. They're able to hit homers. Their lineup, really, if you look at it, is pretty long. And it's young. The guys that are contributing are young, and I think that could go one of two ways. In my mind, possibly if I was talking about another team, I would say, well, the young guys, the bright lights are going to be too much for them. The guys on the Twins, I don't think it's the case. Like Royce Lewis is made to play with the bright lights. He's a stud.
He's the biggest reason. Yeah.
Eddie Julian doesn't give a shit. This guy doesn't care who he's playing, what pitcher he's facing. He's really good. I think that Carlos Correa, I think, is going to be good in the playoffs, but it's going to go on Royce Lewis and Julian to be able to answer. If they can continue to be who they are and who they've been, that's going to be a massive advantage for the Twins because their lineup does become long if those guys keep producing. So I think they are. They really are. They're not as complete or as a sure thing as some other teams, but I'm not going to sit here and say there's no chance they win the World Series because that's just not factual.
Well, I didn't even say win. I say just get there. I wouldn't make them 25% to win the World Series. I would put it significantly lower just because I think Atlanta's getting there.
Do you?
I could be wrong. I do. I do.
The Dodgers and the Phillies.
Yeah, I think they'll get there. I mean, we'll once we see the layout of the bracket, then we'll make our choices. But right now, why not? You mentioned the name Royce Lewis. That dude is a baller, and I think he is built for October. Built for October. There's always a young guy here or there that pops in that first playoff series, and he's a dude that can do it. So are there better teams in the American League? Yes. We just talked about Tampa. I think Tampa is definitely better. And I think the Orioles are better. The rest of these teams, Houston, I think they're better. But I think those are the only 3 that I would definitely say are better, and it's not by a wide margin.
Who'd you name? Orioles, Tampa, and Houston?
Yeah. Those are the 3 that I feel like are better. I think Texas, if they get in, and I'd love to see it, I do think the bullpen is a nightmare. Seattle, pretty good team. I'd be willing to listen on them. I think they're right there with Minnesota, to be honest with you. A little more swing and miss than I like. Not as much homer pop as the Twins. Close, but not as much. And I think Minnesota's got a shot. I really do. You're right about like Sonny Gray can match up with anybody. Lopez is the guy. Like he's been great at times. He's also had some real stinkers. You know, that's it. But that's a good top two right there. So they're gonna have a shot. I think he'll win at least a playoff game. That's a big deal.
If I had to rank the AL teams right now, and there's going to be 6 of them that make the playoffs, I would put the Twins. Gosh,
I have them 4th.
That's you have them 4th. You have them above the Rangers and the Mariners.
I do.
I think they're comparable to the Orioles. I really do.
Could be. Yeah.
I would say Tampa and Houston are my 2 favorites out of the AL right now.
I would agree with that. I would put Baltimore 3rd, and I would put Minnesota 4th, but not by much.
I think I'm going Minnesota 3rd in this.
Yeah, and I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I think it's fine. That was a bad sound. Let's move over to the West Coast here. Giants still tied with Cincinnati and Arizona for that final NL wildcard spot. But there was some off-field news. Susan Slusser of the San Francisco Chronicle reported that both Farhan Zaide and Gabe Kapler are expected to return next season. In fact, Giants chairman Greg Johnson, he reiterated what he said about a month ago. He said, we could have opted out for next year. We didn't do that, which means Farhan is going to be around, both of them, through next season. Were you surprised there was that much discussion about both men's job security?
A little bit, because I around baseball, I think both these guys are 2 of the more respected people at their positions. I mean, Farhan, you talk to people about baseball operations, he's one of the top dogs that everyone calls to. Like, this guy's been there, done it all. And as far as Gabe Kapler, I think he's proven more than worthy in San Francisco that he's a good fit there. And I think, honestly, if Philly would have given him some more time, he would have been a good fit there. I like the way this guy manages. I do. And Giants fans might not agree with that at all times. But again, I'll keep going back to look at how he's had to handle that rotation in San Francisco this year. All those openers, all those piggyback starts. That's one of the things that a manager will have to do throughout a season that I think actually impacts the game is that. And he's had to do it a lot more than anybody else in the league this year. So I think he deserves a lot of credit there. He also sets just such a good example for guys. I don't know. I was a little shocked. Now I know the results necessarily haven't been there. Gabe gets there in 2020, they don't make the postseason. 2021, they win 107 games, but they lose to the Dodgers, which is tough. Then in last year, 3rd in the NL West, they missed the playoffs. This year, they're like kind of right there. So, the results haven't been great, but I also put that on the ability for this team to attract free agents. And big-time free agents. They keep missing out on those guys. So it's not – I think if you go back into these off seasons and you give – I don't know if Aaron Judge was ever talking to them. I doubt that was the case, that he was really, truly considering them. I think it was a leverage play. But, if Carlos Correa goes over there, and I understand, like, the statistics on the Twins haven't been what they are, but I think they are a move away from being, like, they're doing well. So, yeah, I was surprised when it was talked about like they were on the hot seat.
Well, let me ask you this, right? We keep hearing that San Francisco could be a destination for Shohei. If you're Shohei and you just look at the organization, what's your thought about it? I think it's just kind of meh, to be honest with you. It's like they've gotten guys who are stopgaps and good ball players, you don't get super excited, right? Mitch Haniger, good ball player when he's out there. Ross Stripling hasn't done anything this year. He's going to opt into his deal. Sean Manaea, no idea what he is at this point of his career. Alex Wood keeps getting, short-term deals up there. He's solid, but now he comes out of the bullpen these days or whatever. Like, I don't know what this organization is and what they specialize in. Zero idea. So if you're selling Shohei about your vision, what's the Giants' vision?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Shohei is going to require so much convincing to come places. I think they could sell to other guys, but that's interesting.
But if you're Seattle, you have something to sell him, right? Like, I know what Seattle is. You can question about if they need to tinker with some of the pieces that are there, but I know what that team is all about. That is Studley starting pitching, and we are built around one of the most exciting players in the league who's only going to get better at 22. I know that vision. Dodgers, here, take a look at what we've done. Cubs have a little bit more of a sell job because they've got some moving pieces right now, but that would be interesting. And then some other teams out there, but I have no idea what this, bless you, I have no idea what the Giants are selling him. Zero. And that's why it doesn't shock me that, like, Kapler, I think, is kind of a victim of circumstance. I think that they pull
Aren't
so
all
many
managers
pitchers.
that?
Yes. I think most of them are, if not all. Yeah, I mean, that stuff, the game planning is decided hours in advance of first pitch. So when people get mad that he doesn't let so-and-so get through the lineup 3 times, that's not a Gabe Kapler move. So I think a lot of the grief that he gets is predicated on discussions that the front office has with him before games. That's fine. I have no idea what they are. Zero.
I get that. Yeah, the identity, I guess, isn't there. I could see that.
All right, last thing before we get out of here for the weekend on the podcast and the YouTube side of things, and a quick reminder, if you haven't downloaded the AMP app, do so on your iPhone. You get to join us every Monday through Friday. And then the live showtime bounces around a little bit. That's why you got to check our social media. But we've built a great community. We love having the back and forth. When we're done with the podcast and YouTube side of things, we actually hang out for another half hour and talk to people, get questions, get some answers, whatever it is. It could be about baseball, other stuff. So make sure you join us there. But this last thing, we know that Shohei was on the cover of MLB The Show, but here's the reaction of him seeing himself. For some reason, I don't know if this came out for the first time yesterday or I don't know, but it's the animation of him, which is just freaking incredible out there. That is so cool. So my question to you is, would you rather be on the cover of a video game, just you, not animated like Shohei there, or would you like to be animated into a movie?
Am I the star of the movie?
Does it matter?
Yeah, because I'll be the star of that cover.
Okay.
I think I'd take the cover of the video game, especially if it's MLB The Show. That thing is plastered everywhere. That's one of the highest selling video games. So I would take that for sure. No doubt. It's an honor. I mean, the guys that have been on that cover are all exceptional ball players, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
That would mean I was doing really well in my career and things are looking mighty fine, and I get the video game on top of it. So yeah, I would take that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I will say this, I told you earlier that I was this week I was in Mr. 3000 and Rebound for movies. Do you remember the show Celebrity Deathmatch?
Of course.
Okay. Best damn, we were in Celebrity Deathmatch.
Great show, by the way.
Unbelievable show. Do you want to know how they killed me?
Can I see?
We don't have the video of it right
now.
No! I know, bummer. But there I am standing next to Sally. By the way, I look good. It was probably 40 pounds ago. Good solid hair, frosted tips, the whole bit with Dibble and Rodney Pete. So I was incessantly talking, just wouldn't nonstop. Like those guys are all fighting and I am talking blah, 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 blah. So it's very realistic. They stuck like a pacifier in my mouth and I tried to keep talking and somehow I filled up and just like a hot air balloon and I burst.
That is good. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm thinking I need to buy a pacifier for you and just every once in a while just fucking throw it over there.
Anything else you'd like to say?
You're a superstar, dude. When I got onto AMP, they were talking about you and how much they love you, and the chat was going after it. And you're always like, oh, nobody knows who I am. You're a freaking star, Chris.
You're very sweet. So next Monday and Tuesday, Jolly Olive will be joining you. Quick reminder, I'll be out in Pittsburgh calling the Browns-Steelers game on Monday night. It's an honor to be doing that. It's an unfortunate reason. The legendary Jim Donovan, who's been calling Browns games since they came back in the league in 1999, is fighting the good fight against leukemia and needs a few weeks. And I wish I wasn't doing this. It's always been a dream of mine, and I get to call the preseason package. I wish that was enough. I don't want to be doing this, to be honest with you, because it would mean that Jim is healthy. But they need some help, and so I'm going to try and do the best job I can. But it means I cannot be with you on Monday and Tuesday. I hope everybody understands. I will be back on Wednesday. Okay? For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Monday with Jolly Olive on Baseball Today.